So 6 months into a new year, you can see what things have been working, what things haven't been working. And it also gives you enough runway through the end of the year to make changes and to shift course if you need to. By the time you get to December, it's already too late, right? It's the woulda, coulda, shoulda by year end.
And let's just acknowledge something about 2026. And every year in some way has a bit of this, but it has been a doozy of a year, okay? Like so many crazy things going on in the world, in the news, in the markets. And so it's totally normal if you felt anxiety or uncertainty.
Life often changes faster than the paperwork that you do for it. And so this is the time to consider if any of that now needs to catch up to where you are in your life evolution.
Hello. Welcome back.
Hello. So good to see you as always.
Great to see you too, partner. Welcome back, everybody, to Living Richly with Curo. This is episode 98. My name is Ann McCabe. I am the CEO and a partner here at Curo Private Wealth. And I'm joined, as always, by my lovely partner, Atricia.
Hello, I am Atricia Roberts, COO and partner here at Curo. Thank you so much for coming back if you've listened to the pod before. And of course, welcome if this is your first time joining us.
We love all of you. We appreciate all of you. And just in case this is your first time joining us, our mission here on the podcast, but also in what we do each and every day with our clients, is to educate, inspire, and empower you on your journey. And today's episode is all around a little mid-year check-in, and specifically 5 questions that smart women and men, this is not just for the women, this is for all of the above, ask themselves about their finances mid-year through the year. So just in case you haven't looked at a calendar, it is June, y'all. It's June. My kids are out from school. My older son graduated from 8th grade. It's like, where has this year gone? Where has the time gone? We've all been busy. And if you are anything like our high achieving clients, you're so good at taking care of all the work stuff, all the career stuff, all the home stuff. But when it comes to your financial lives, that kind of gets put on the back burner. So today's episode is not about making you feel guilty. It shouldn't feel heavy. We want this to feel nice and light, but it's about really giving yourself some time and space to pause, just like you would at work when you're doing like a mid-year check-in on your goals.
Yes. And we also want to reiterate how good of a time of the year it is to be doing this, right? Now is a perfect time. Again, I can't believe that half the year is already, well, almost in the can. But the fact that we get this opportunity to take a pause, right? We're going to take a beat and we'll do an evaluation. And what you want to remember is that now there's been enough of the year that has happened for you to really see some patterns, right? So 6 months into a new year, you can see what things have been working, what things haven't been working. And it also gives you enough runway through the end of the year to make changes and to shift course if you need to. By the time you get to December, it's already too late, right? It's the woulda, coulda, shoulda by year end. Oh, I wish I had considered this. I wish I had spent less. It's probably what I need to be evaluating is my spending patterns. But by then it's too late. And then it's also a good time to start thinking about the transitions you've already experienced, right? So unfortunately, we've had some clients who have experienced loss, right, already this year, or clients who are approaching a divorce and they're going through a separation. So it's always a good time to always mid-year kind of reset through some of those transitions and figure out what decisions you may need to make before we get to December, which will be here before we know it.
Oh, right. Like blink your eyes and it will be 2027. Just warning you right now.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so we're going to go into the 5 questions now. So question number 1 is we want to check in on our cash flow. And specifically, the question is, has my cash flow actually matched my plan? So if you've been listening for a while, we took you through an exercise at the beginning of the year to get your year set up and your goals set up for your finances. And one of the things that we obviously had you do is do a little cash flow projection. So Now, midway through the year, we want you to do an honest gut check here. Is what you intended to save, has that actually come to fruition or not, right? Or did things happen a little bit differently than you had planned from a savings standpoint? And listen, drift is normal. Okay, we are not going for perfection here. We are going for good enough and progress, right? This is, again, not about making you feel guilty. But take a look. Did you maybe have an expense that was bigger than expected? Or did you get a lower bonus than you had expected? Did you decide to be super generous with family or friends and that made your cash flow a little bit different than you expected? The point here is to notice and to be aware of some of these drifts and these changes, not to feel guilty about it. So pull the last 6 months of your transactions, your inflows, outflows, and take a look for any surprises that could have happened. So, this is where you can start to see patterns. And as Atricia just mentioned, where we can start to make little shifts so that the next 6 months will hopefully look a little bit more on track than the last 6 months have.
Yes. So the next question we want you to ask yourself is, did anything change in my life that my money hasn't caught up to yet? Right. Sometimes we are making decisions and things are shifting in our lives and in our careers where we may have had to make an emotional, right, or a mental choice, but we don't yet understand the impact to us financially. So this is specific for people experiencing the transitions, right, we talked about earlier. So maybe the divorce that got finalized, or a parent who might need more care, right? Maybe you're what we call the sandwich generation, and you might have some parents to now start looking after. Maybe you inherited some money this year or have money coming to you that you haven't considered yet. Maybe you're getting a title change at work. Maybe there's a promotion that's about to happen, right? Maybe you're not going to have equity compensation as a part of your income every year. These are all things that sometimes you make decisions about before the money part actually kicks in. So now we want you to start considering, like, do my beneficiaries need to change? Do my estate plan documents need to be updated? Do I need to meet with my advisor to figure out how the new income or the new assets will now affect me financially? Right? Life often changes faster than the paperwork that you do for it. And so this is the time to consider if any of that now needs to catch up to where you are in your life evolution. And so your plan should always reflect where you are now, right? Not where you were in January, which at this point feels like a year ago, but you want to make sure that you're considering who you are now, what the next 6 months is going to look like, and try to take this summer break to figure out what work do I need to do to make sure that my money keeps up.
Absolutely. All right, question number 3. We're going to talk about everybody's favorite topic, which is taxes.
Yay!
Yay! We love taxes. We love saving money on taxes. So it's
Yes.
exciting. It's exciting, y'all. Taxes can be exciting. So the question is, am I leaving tax strategy on the table? And what we find is that a lot of people don't think about their taxes until April. So in this case, we're in 2026. They won't think about their taxes until April of 2027, of course, when the normal tax filing deadline is due. And guess what? At that point, it's too late to do any sort of strategy for 2026. Usually, there are a couple things you can do in the new year, but most of the things you have to do inside of the calendar year. And so it's too late. If you're thinking in April about tax strategy, it's too late. So right now, thinking about the back half of 2026 is a phenomenal time to start thinking about smart tax moves that you may want to implement before the end of the year. So, just some high level topics here. This is not tax advice as always. Please consult your tax professionals. But if this is, let's say, a lower income year, maybe you should consider some Roth conversions and have your tax professional / your financial advisor crunch those numbers for you to see if it makes sense. If you've had an income change, maybe you want to look at your tax withholdings so far year to date and make sure you're on track. We don't like big tax surprises, right? And so we want to make sure that those look good. Maybe if you're charitably inclined, this would be a good year to consider making some charitable donations. We've talked about things like donor advised funds on the podcast before. So, does that make sense for you this year? On the flip side, maybe something happened unexpectedly, like you did receive an inheritance, you had a loved one pass away, and maybe you were supposed to be in a lower tax bracket situation, but an inheritance came in to change that. We actually have a client situation we're working on now where we had this beautiful tax strategy laid out for 2026. We were actually going to be able to sell stock at a 0% capital gains rate because they're not earning income, they're retired. And then the husband did receive an inheritance, actually had to take a required minimum distribution, which is taxable income. Poof, there goes our beautiful tax strategy. And so we have to pivot, which is life, and this happens. So if it's a year where you thought you were going to be in a lower income situation and then now you're not, what do we need to do between now and the end of the year? Also, if you are maybe in transition from a job standpoint and in a lower tax bracket, there are some things to consider. So the point here is this is a fantastic time in the middle of the year to take a look at your tax position and figure out what you may need to take advantage of or any changes you may need to make before the end of the year.
Yeah, really great advice. The more you can get ahead of taxes, the better.
Yes, agreed.
Okay. So our fourth question is, are my goals still the goals I want? So maybe the goals you set in January are now shifting. And if you've listened to the pod, we love goals and we love goal words and we love manifesting and projecting what the year might look like. But we do want to give you permission to change your mind, right? Maybe the things that you thought were important in January, life happened, things changed at work, things changed with children, and now those things maybe don't matter as much or maybe matter more. So, one, give yourself permission to pivot, but you also want to think about it. Does this goal still light me up, right? Maybe in January you thought, I really want to work for 3 more years. And then you had a very challenging first and second quarter. And now the work optional sounds more exciting than the working for 3 more years. Maybe the trip that you thought you were going to put off till 2027 now looks like you probably should be taking it in 2026. Maybe it's just something you need. So you want to consider if the goals are still lighting you up and making you excited, because this is what we think of as whole life planning. We talk a lot about the comprehensive planning we do at Curo. And it's always going to start with what's important to you, right? What matters to you. We talk about that a lot. And so reevaluating, especially at this midpoint through the year, of what really matters and what's important, not just make sure you're on track financially, but it makes sure that you're on track emotionally, right? To get to the things that are important to you in life. And again, it's okay for that destination to change. Maybe the things that you were doing don't serve you anymore and you're looking to do something different. So now's the time to reach out to the advisor and say, hey, I know we were targeting retirement at 2028, but it's looking more like end of 2027, right? And start evaluating what really matters and what you really want for the rest of this year.
All right, question number 5, the last question. When did I last feel calm about my money, and what would it take to feel that way again? And let's just acknowledge something about 2026. And every year in some way has a bit of this, but it has been a doozy of a year. Okay. Like, so many crazy things going on in the world, in the news, in the markets. And so it's totally normal if you felt anxiety or uncertainty. And we always talk about like helping you understand what's important information for you versus what's noise. And there has been a lot of noise, certainly this year. So if those headlines make you uneasy and have made you uneasy, you are human. And we've talked a lot on this podcast and we coach clients all the time to, number one, if the news cycle is making you very nervous and anxious and, increasing that level of uncertainty, consider turning it off. You're not going to miss a lot. And if you do miss something, trust me, your coworkers at the water cooler will fill you in. And 2, focus on what is inside of your sphere of control. There is so much that we hear on a daily basis that is outside of our control. And so what we want to do is focus on what is inside our control. So a lot of people haven't felt certain this year, and maybe even for many years, because they're focusing on things that are outside of their control. And that's one of the reasons that we're sharing these questions today, is because even if you don't like the answers or what you see about the first 6 months of this year, this is inside of our control. And when we have clarity around what our actual finances look like, that can make us feel more in control. So, calm is not a personality trait. It is the byproduct of having a good plan and also good partners, which Atricia and I would be happy to help you if you would like to have a conversation. But, delegating just like you do in your job, delegating, the uncertainty and the concern around your money is something that you can actually do as well. And it could potentially help you feel more calm about your financial position.
Yes, because everybody's talking about it, right? I can't go to brunch at this point without someone saying, "Well, what happens when all of these IPOs blow up the market?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. What happens if they don't open the Strait of Hormuz?" Well, are you going to go to the negotiating table? There's only so much we can do, right? And
Yeah.
focusing on those things, I think, will just help calm the anxiety. So now we also want to share some mistakes to avoid. And this is specifically about your mid-year check-in, right? Here's what you want to avoid. The first one is treating your check-in like a report card. And I'm saying this for you guys and also saying it to myself, right? As a person who is a terrible perfectionist, sometimes we end up grading ourselves rather than just evaluating the situation. So we want to think of this check-in as the steering wheel, right? We're navigating, we're shifting, we're guiding ourselves down better paths. It's not a grade, right? You didn't pass or fail the first half of the year. So remember that it is not a report card. The second mistake is only looking at investment performance. As Anne just shared, there's so much about the market that we cannot control, right? It's the thing we can't control really at all in our financial lives. Cash flow, however, taxes, your financial goals, those are decisions that you can make that actually move the needle in your life. And so that's what you really want to focus on. I mean, luckily for us, the markets have been friendly this year, but you don't want to focus solely on investment performance. The third mistake is waiting for the right time. And I know as a high achieving, busy person, you're probably thinking, oh, as soon as I get, a few minutes, as soon as I have a day off, or as soon as I take a quick vacation, I'm really going to sit down and do it. It's never going to be the right time, right? As a busy person, you're always going to have something else to do. And so you got to create the space to take the pause and really look in and check and not wait for one to happen. You have to make it. We love time blocking here at Curo. And so if you don't protect the time, then something will eat it up. And just fussed at me for not protecting my lunch break time today.
Truth, y'all, truth. Gave her a little bit of a lecture before
Yes,
we hit the
not a
record button.
lecture. So we're also lecturing you is that you gotta create the space for your check-in. And then the last mistake we want to point out is doing it alone and then abandoning it. I think with most of our goals, having an accountability partner always helps us push the ball forward, right? Knowing someone is going to check in and ask you how it's going is the biggest way to motivate you to get it done. So you want to maybe find a partner, right? Someone who can help. And again, you may be unpartnered, unmarried, and that's fine, but find someone else who you can possibly do this with, right? Going through someone who can give you some accountability and hold you to it. Maybe that's a friend or a neighbor or a coworker. I force my friends to sit down and have financial conversations all the time. And then knowing someone that is always going to check in and ask you about it, I think helps make sure you actually get it done.
Yeah, no, it really does.
Mhm.
Definitely. Have a partner. You can share this podcast episode with your
Yes.
accountability partner.
Yeah,
Then
that's
y'all
a
can
good
be on
one.
the same page. Okay, so we're going to close out with some real kind of tactical next steps. And the first is, as Atricia was just mentioning, you have to block time on your calendar or it will not happen because something else will fill your calendar. So, as Atricia mentioned, we love time blocking here at Curo, and we've all been working really hard about not just putting the time blocks in place, but also honoring them. So, our first piece of advice, if you really want to be serious about this mid year check in, is to just block 30 minutes next week. Do it while it's fresh in your mind and ask yourself these questions. Maybe you grab your favorite cup of coffee or go to your favorite coffee shop. It's important, I think, to like romanticize this as well. So make it something that's fun, that doesn't feel like a dread, but it actually feels like something that's exciting to you. And then if you decide that this is a bigger project than something that will just be done in, 30 minutes or a weekend, these are the kinds of conversations that we love having. And so please feel free to reach out. We're happy to sit down for an initial consult. We don't charge anything for it. It's a good opportunity for us to just get to know each other and see if what you're looking for is something that we could help you with. So if you can do it in 30 minutes and you feel great about it, awesome. That is wonderful. And if not, we would be happy to be a resource for you.
Yes, call us. It's what we do every day, and we're more than happy to be your partner.
Yes, exactly. All right. So short and sweet for our mid year check in, but we always love to leave you all with a little takeaway. So, Atricia, what do you have for your closing thought for today?
Yeah. So I have an older sorority sister, and I mean older, like 10 years older. So I think of her in a lot of ways like a mentor, but she will occasionally check in on me just to make sure I'm okay. And so the last check in we had, I was a bumbling, fumbling mess. Like, I'm so busy. I don't have time for anything. Like, everything's falling apart. And so she sent me a book, and the book is called Rest is Resistance. It's by a woman named Tricia Hershey. Now, a lot of her content is written kind of specifically for Black women, but this one I think just serves any audience, but women maybe specifically. But it's about understanding the idea that rest is not just a physical need, it's also a mental and emotional need. She calls herself the nap bishop. So she preaches a message about using rest as a way to dream and to think and to feel. And so I've been reading this book, and it's helped me so much in sort of just rethinking the way I feel about taking a break, and not just so much in like, oh, my body is tired and I need to go to sleep, right? But sometimes you just want to sit and ponder, right? She talks about the importance of daydreaming, right? Daydreaming is where you build vision for yourself, where you start to get in touch with what you really want, right? We talked about the goals and those things that are changing. And so thinking of rest as resistance to, in her case, capitalism, right, is what she's resisting, is this idea that we're like these machines that have to go and be productive all the time. And sort of recapturing the idea of rest, not just for our physical bodies, but for who we are mentally and emotionally, has really helped me. So, one of my goals for the rest of the year is to honor some time for rest. Now, when I'm working, right? When I'm here, I'm showing up for our clients, I'm showing up for our team, I'm showing up for you guys. But Anne even knows this, even my weekends get packed with things, right? And so, really just finding time where I just allow myself to take a nap or to daydream, right? To really just allow myself to really rest, not even just for the physical need of it because I'm tired, but just because I want to ponder or I want to think or I want to stare out into the sky, right? And so I'm trying to do more of that and not booking myself to capacity even through the weekends, like this last weekend where I got no rest. So it's been really helpful. It's been really helpful in helping me think about it that way. Even that idea of like romanticizing it, right? Like, oh, today I'm just gonna pour myself a cup of coffee. I'm gonna sit on the balcony. I'm just gonna enjoy the weather. I'm gonna look at the people walking by and just do that for 30 minutes. Not because I need to go to sleep, but just because I want to daydream and I just want to think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
I
trying
love
to
that.
embrace more of that.
Yeah. I think it's great. I will join you in that
Yes.
effort.
You need a little too. The woman
I
who does
definitely
not sleep.
No, I don't. Not enough anyway. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So my closing thought is similar in that it's the summer officially for, like I said, my kids are out from school. They get out a little bit earlier. And I've talked before about a book called 18 Summers, but the idea is that, as parents, we have basically 18 summers with our children, which is just crazy when you think about it. And my older son just graduated 8th grade, so I have exactly 4 summers. Well, I guess I have five. I have five, including this year.
Including this one, right?
Yeah, but by the time he's like 18 and a senior in high school, that summers I probably don't have him. So let's just say 4 to 5. But I'm really going to try this summer to embrace, slowing down a little bit. Our client meeting load in the summer tends to be a little bit lighter than during other, parts of the year. And so, similar to you, Atricia, I'm just going to try as hard as I possibly can, which definitely goes against the grain of my natural personality of a pace of 10, but
Right. A
I'm going to
woman
really
always on the move.
yeah, but I'm going to try to really slow down, enjoy the summer, spend extra quality time with my boys. Just do fun things that they want to do, and yeah, and really just embrace sort of the natural vibe, which tends to be a little bit slower in the summer. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I have said this for many summers in a row, and then like things tend to get crazy around here at Curo. So I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that this summer is a summer that I can actually finally
Yes,
do something like this. So you can hold me accountable.
I will. Because just like we just told our listeners and viewers, if you don't make the time, right, our calendars abhor a vacuum. And so if you
Yeah.
don't make the time, something will fill it. So I'm going to hold you accountable for time blocking, slower quality time with your
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah. Thank you. I
Of
appreciate that.
course.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We always appreciate the time, speaking of, that you invest with us and spend with us. We hope this was helpful. And we want to hear how your mid-year check-ins go. So reach out and let us know. We're on Instagram at Curo Private Wealth. And we do have an email address for the podcast, which is podcast@curoprivatewealth.com. And until next time.
Live richly.
Thanks again for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Friendly reminder that this is for informational purposes only. For additional information, please visit us at www.curoprivatewealth.com. Until next time, live richly.